Well, hello and welcome. Today I have two of my wonderful spiritual friends, Daniel Hayes and Darryl Ing.
And
Ing. And we've met through an online spiritual group, the Teachings of Joshua, at a retreat. And we've been friends for a while now. They are they are really they have their light bodies activated. They're beautiful people. I love them so much. And Daryl's nickname is the Ambassador. And so today we decided to talk about woo woo things, our activations, and the crystalline light body, and how we activated our light body, and some of our natural gifts and abilities. It's a remembering. So my intention today is to talk a little bit about all things spiritual and woo woo and activations, and how we came to meet each other. And I'm going to call on some ascended masters, angels, aliens to help us lead us through this discussion, to help other people understand how they can activate their light body. Okay, so I want to start with Darryl. So welcome, Darryl.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Dan.
And welcome, Daniel. So can you tell me about your activations and your woo-woo gifts, and then we'll go on into a discussion about the crystalline light body.
Yes. But even before I tell you about my activation, my woo stuff, I want to talk about the general population's activation, because this is not just happening for me, Dan, and Tami. It's actually happening for humanity. Even people who don't know it's happening, it's happening.
That's right.
We are all transitioning, and we are all becoming more spiritual and more knowledgeable and more loving. And by that, we are actually transposing our DNA and our actual body. So I just want anyone who's listening to this to know that it's happening for everyone. Not maybe in the same degree that it's happening for you, me, the neighbor, like that. We're all gonna be activated according to our particular needs, but it's happening for humanity across the world. So I want to start off and let people know, yay! That's
yay!
It's finally happening.
It's the age of Aquarius, and some of us are feeling it, like feeling lighter, feeling happier, and all of that comes from within the heart. Within us.
I mean, you really want me to geek out about it? It's really every 24,000 years, according to the Yogi calendar, that we will reach the age of Aquarius, which is what we are right now. Anyone who can tell you we are in the age of Aquarius. So it's been predicted for 24,000 years ago that this time, during the age of Aquarius, humanity will ascend. It will raise and become a more loving race of beings. And as a side product of that, we are undergoing what we call activations, meaning that our actual genes are transforming and being modified. And there are many ways that we can get activated. Dan and I and Tami are going to talk about some of the ways that we've been activated and some of the side products of being activated. But I want to just say that there are a whole bunch of ways that humans on Earth, that you and I are being activated. I'll give you one that all of us are getting. Just by walking out in the sunshine, you are being activated by the solar flares that are coming to Earth. And the solar flares that are coming to Earth are a different potency and wavelengths than they previously are. So although you may think you're getting a beautiful tan, and you are also getting activated in a very subtle and perfect way that is adjusting to your body to impact your DNA, to slightly tweak it and modify it. And that's going to actually do what we call transition the human body, which is all carbon-based. into a crystalline light body base. So you're not going to see anything drastic overnight, like, oh my God, you're all of a sudden I'm shining. No, it's going to be a very subtle form of transition, because you don't want a sudden, day and night, ooh, I'm in a crystalline body. You want something that's subtle, and it's going to take time, and it's going to unfold in the perfect amounts for you. So we are all getting our DNA activated, changed, modified, and that's going to produce it's going to produce a lot of things. But one of the things that we summarize it by is that it's going to transition us from a carbon-based body into a crystalline energy body. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, then we're going to have certain gifts. We're going to have certain potentials that we didn't have when we were in our solid carbon body. In the crystalline body, you're going to have potential to do things that you haven't been able to do before in your old body. So should I stop there, or should I talk more about my activation, or should I talk about the gifts?
Talk about your activations. Our paths are a little similar, but talk about some of the activations you have done. Of course, nature is, and the earth is one, and the other activations that you've done.
Yeah, I have done a lot of activations in the past, and we all have, even though we didn't know it. For example, like my example is just walking in the sun was a form of being activated. But in addition to that, I've actually participated in many different channelers who have activations on their site, and they do various forms of activation, like speak light language and to the audience, and that activates. Paul Selleck, who's another noted channeler, does activations on his weekly channeling course. So all of these things have happened in my past, but I will say that the biggest dose of activation I had was when I went to Joshua's house, and we had a one-on-one activation, of which Tami was one of the people. I forever be in gratitude for helping focus and activate me. We all of us there had individual time on the table, and 4 very talented people, and Tami was one of them, focused on me or us, and did a lot of woo-woo stuff. By woo-woo stuff, I would say they did a lot of light language, they did a lot of channeling, and they were able to see things pop up in the room that others verified. Were popping up. I'm talking about Merkaba spinning, portals opening. In my particular case, Christy said that she saw 4 galactic languages downloaded into me, and all these incredible things happened during that activation. And at first, I doubted it. I didn't think, I thought, were they all punking me? Were they all like a part of a little conspiracy that make me think this is happening, because it's totally impossible. But then little by little, I really searched it out. So, oh my God, it's true, because you get individual experience that verifies, and then you double check it with other people and cross-reference it, and it's like it's true. So it's been a great discovery and unfolding for me as my body was activated, and I'm starting now to see some of the side effects of that, the positive side effects. I don't want to scare people and think I grew an extra arm or anything. It's all good stuff. That's having like good intuition, good kind of psychic sense. What was one of my gifts is that I'm claircognizant, which means that I have the ability to know things without really knowing how I know it, but I know it. And as we get into our light bodies, that's one of the side effects, is that we all have what we call the clears, which are various abilities come online, and we're able to do things that we normally wouldn't have been able to do unless we were activated. So I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions, or
Okay.
Dan, do you want to?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's move to Dan. And I know a little bit, so explain how you became lighter and lighter, the things that
Well, I'm hesitant to talk because I'm enjoying your conversation so much, but I guess I better jump in. I feel somewhat like I'm out of my element because you guys are so extraordinary. I might be able to give you some hair care tips if that would be, if that would be helpful. My journey has been a slow, steady one. I started doing TM 45 plus years ago. And I really took to it. I was in my younger years, I really had a Western mind. And when I started doing TM, right before that, I had started reading Autobiography of a Yogi, and I think I had read some of the Seth books, and it started to open up a whole new world for me. In 1979, I took the advanced courses where I learned the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And it was so astounding for me. I mean, I'm a farm boy from upstate New York. And I was in Livingston Manor in the Catskills. And we were doing these advanced techniques, and people were hopping around. One of the most advanced techniques is Patanjali's Yoga Sutra for levitation. And I was just astounded. Not only was I experiencing great change in myself, but people would be hopping around. We were in a padded room, which seems appropriate. And people were hopping around, and all kinds of strange stress releases where I would turn and I would see someone growling with his eyes rolled up in his head, and I would think, what the heck am I doing? Where am I? But at the same time, it felt so right. So I've been doing these techniques for years and adding other things to it. And I've been to India a few times to meditate with huge groups. But there hasn't been any one great epiphany. It's been kind of an arc upward, I think, I hope. But I have to say, these last couple of years, a couple of years ago, I met Tami in what I thought at the time was an extraordinary coincidence. I had signed up for the Joshua boot camp, and Tami ended up being my coach, I guess it was, advisor, coach. And I called her to tell her I wouldn't be able to keep up with all the coursework because I was traveling and I was in Savannah. And of all the places in the world that Tami could have been, she was within an hour of Savannah, and we got together and met. So that was an extraordinary coincidence. And since then, I've had many, many more, and I've kind of just come to expect them. So I began the activations along with you guys, was it about 8 months ago, 6 months ago? And that slow, what I thought was a slow curve upward, all of a sudden started to really speed up in intensity. I would do the activations. We did some, as Darryl mentioned, live when we were together in New York City, in Florida, in North Carolina. But when I was doing the activations at home, I would go upstairs to my bed and I would get real physical sensations where my body would be turning and doing strange contortions and this and that. What my original meditation teacher was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and I remember calling that the cosmic chiropractor. Somebody would talk about their body doing contortions, and he'd say, "Oh, I can't do accents, but you were visited by the cosmic chiropractor," and he would be happy and nodding. So that kind of thing has been happening to me. And it was just extraordinary. And I came to look forward to the activation so much. And I think it was Darryl who kind of gave permission. I follow his emails, and we were doing them once a week. And Darryl said, you can do these night after night if you want to. And I started doing them pretty much every night that I had the time, which was most nights. And I came to so look forward to them. So I can't think of anything in particular that's happening, except that it feels, you know, the image of a snowball rolling down a hill. It gets bigger and rolls faster and faster. I have that sensation. I have that feeling that whatever path I'm on, it's picking up the pace. And one of the side effects of that, which I'm most thrilled about, is just meeting extraordinary people. And you are two of them.
Yeah.
And other extraordinary people that I have met, and people who seem to have developed really what I would have considered in the past extraordinary powers. I remember when we were in, I think it was Orlando, and I finally decided I was going to have a reading with Hazel. We know Hazel and love Hazel. And I was walking down the stairs, and I turned to look at the kitchen where a group of us were congregated, and no one knew. I thought what I had in my head, but what I was doing was I was going to see if Hazel was there and say, Hazel, yeah, I think I do want my reading done. And just as I turned the corner and faced the kitchen and just was scanning the crowd, which I probably did every morning, Aunt Sophie said something like, she's up in her room. And I said, how do you know who I'm looking for? And I remember she looked at me like, really, this is elementary. And it just, I feel sometimes when I'm with you people that I haven't watched any of them, but you know those Marvel comics that they make movies out of, and each superhero has his or her own power. This one, I'm making it up because I don't know. This one can freeze things. This one can see things. This one can throw fire. So when I'm around you, I just feel that everybody is having is developing these special abilities. And I had a great surprise. Again, I think this was in Orlando, when for the last couple of years, if I'm sitting around and I go into a relaxed state, my hands will start just spontaneously moving. And, you know, when you're in your 70s, as I am, you sometimes feel like stretching, you know, you just start stiffening up as you get older. So to me, it was just natural, but I would be walking through a supermarket looking at produce or something and just doing this kind of thing and just letting it go. And when I was in Orlando and Christy was channeling white light, when I'm in any kind of a thing like that where somebody's channeling or we're doing a meditation together, I go into a very relaxed state where it feels like I'm breathing maybe twice a minute. It feels like I'm in a deep sleep. And if you look at me, and people often accuse me of sleeping, but I'm super alert. And I was sitting there with my eyes closed, listening to every word that Christy said and kind of vaguely aware that my hands were doing things. And Christy came to me afterwards and said, white light had said to her, look at your friend Dan, he's talking to you in light language. And at the time, so when Christy channels, she has an awareness, as I understand it, and she can see the crowd. We look a little fuzzy, we look a little blurry, but she's not completely gone. And she said that when she looked over at me, she understood every word that I said, and she was talking back to me. And then afterwards, when she came over to tell me this, which was a total surprise to me, she came over to tell me, she said, I can't remember now what we were talking about, but it was so crystal clear, the conversation we had. To me, it sounded like when you have a dream that's very vivid and clear, and by the time you come downstairs from your bedroom or leave your bedroom, you've already kind of forgotten it. You know it was clear and wonderful or whatever it happened to be, but then you can't quite remember what it was unless you're fortunate enough to sit up in bed and write it down right away, which is probably a good thing to do. So anyway, that's a little of what I've been going through, and it's been quite extraordinary and exciting and fun, and I wish this for everybody.
Yeah, and you know, my observation about both of you and myself is that we look younger, we are having more fun, we're just kind of allowing these things. So, I'll talk briefly about mine. I would say that, activating my light body is, as I really got spiritual, I spent a lot of time in nature. I do some deep meditations. I activate my Merkaba, but I also have done a lot of light language activations with Daniel Scranton and the Christy and the White Light. And some of my abilities have come online, and and I won't forget angel magic. So these things help me to remember some of my new gifts coming online. So I would say, I have the ability to tune into people. I would say something that's really coming on clear now is telepathic communication, clear audience, clear knowing. One of the biggest things that's happened to me in the last couple of years is dreams where I'm with the people I know. So I'm playing with these people in the non-physical, and this is how this meeting even came about. I'm getting clear messages about communicating with some of the people that I've met through my spiritual journey, and what to talk about, what, to get together. And an example of that is I got a message a couple of days ago. I woke up with the person's name. It was like an energy. I got a ball of energy and a clear message to contact Erin. And I did. I contacted her, and then we had a conversation, and now we're all going to a gathering. There's 8 of us going and meeting up in Sedona, and we're going, and it's following the things that you're interested in. And I am interested in aliens, so we're going to see Darryl Anka. So anyway, in person, because I was like, and I had one day to decide. I was the last person. I didn't know anything about it. And so, it's following the things. And I know Darryl's going to Egypt, which I have been. It's a powerful place, but Sedona's powerful. There's lots of vortexes. I felt really connected.
There are sacred sites throughout the whole earth.
Yeah, they are. They are. And they're, so it's following your interest and doing the things, gathering, connecting with people. But I just got back from a trip to Jamaica, and and the message there was one love. Everywhere you go is we're all one. Love everybody like you love yourself. And anyway, all the music is about love. It's a really great place to just wallow in love for a few days. And I had a great time. So so those are the things that have been kind of significant to me in the past 2 years. In breath work, I'll say breath work is really powerful too. So I feel lighter and lighter every year, where I look around at people my age group who are not the same as me. It's like they're aging twice as fast as me. They're not experiencing life the way that I am. They're not moving through life in love and joy and ease, because that is really the journey. The spiritual journey can be very easy. It can be, it's letting go of the struggle, the resistance, and letting go of your limiting beliefs, and just kind of allowing and going with the flow of life. So that's my experience with the activations, and being around more people like the two of you who I love. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to respond to Dan and Tami, because so Dan was describing earlier during his activation, he had contortions and stuff like that. So what that is basically you are moving energies up and down your chakra. For people who don't understand chakra, think of chakras as like little power bases that are along your spine. And when you think about it, if you're activating your DNA, that's going to activate your chakras because it's all connected together. And so then what you experienced, because a lot of people who did the activation, and by the way, you don't have to just do activations in person. You can do activations through recording or on video. And the activation that Dan is describing is actually, we were all participating, it was a recording. And a lot of people who went through that process, they wrote me, and they all have different symptoms because all of our bodies are different. So some of them wrote me and said, oh, I had a pain, or I had a fever, or I started crying. So that's just all of our bodies are different. So it's all just playing out differently. But the advice I give to Dan or to anyone, even people who say, oh my God, you know, I was really uncomfortable. Some of them got hot. Some of them said, oh, it hurt. What I tell people is lean into it. You know, you've been waiting your whole life to get activated. So what, do you feel like this for a little while? For God's sake, you're being activated, you know? Think of it as fun. You know, you've been waiting your whole life for it. Even if it feels a little discomfort, for God's sake, you're being activated. So, you know, just lean into it and enjoy the discomfort. Enjoy it even if it's painful, because it's what you sign up for. It's this glorious miracle that's happening in your body, and you're just transitioning higher to a high density. So enjoy it. So that's what I think was happening to you, Dan. And then also, I do definitely want to comment about your hand language. So what people don't understand is that one of the side effects of being activated is, well, there are a lot of side effects, but a lot of people, they actually start talking. They start speaking various galactic languages or angelic languages, just languages that are, I'm just gonna say, non-earthly. Although Chris did channel the Samaritans, and they were like the very first civilization on Earth, but they were technically galactic, but it was a different language. So one of the side effects when you're getting activated is that you download information that you normally don't have in your consciousness. And a lot of people, they start channeling different languages. And Dan, when you're doing the hand language, you just need to understand that that's just another form of language, right? Some voicing something out is a form of language. Your hand is also a form of language. So you were just expressing a native language within you. Now, I actually asked Joshua live, you know, what was happening, and they verified that because the hand language is happening to me too. And I have a different dialect than Crystal, than Dan, because, you know, it's just like verbal languages. There are different dialects. You have different hand languages. And what Joshua said was that just the act of speaking with your hands, you're actually communicating with the universe and downloading codes. Mm-hmm. So you're not just communicating with another consciousness, like in that case, Dan, you were communicating with Christy's consciousness, but you're also downloading codes and information for the area and space that you're in. So you're communicating to the space that you're in, and you're actually making an impact to the space that you're in. So that's another way I just want to let people know. It's just a language, and you're just, energy is nothing but communication, because we're all consciousness, and we're just communicating with each other through energy. So yeah, so that's what I had to say on that topic.
I think 2 years ago, I never remember having heard the term light language, and now I hear it all over the place. Mm-hmm. I just YouTube videos pop up, and it's all about light language. So it's funny how things drift into the consciousness at the right time. Mm-hmm. And you were saying about physical symptoms. I had a friend, Charlie, who was a TM teacher. He's no longer with us, but Charlie was a great guy. And when I was a young meditator, Charlie was a generation older, if I had symptoms, if I said, geez, I was meditating and this shooting pain went through, but felt like a knife cutting through behind my, it just was a shooting pain. And he would always say, Dan, something good is happening. Something good is happening to you. And he would always say that. And I used to laugh that if my head ever fell off my shoulders and rolled down the sidewalk, I would think something good is happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were doing, I was doing an activation I'm an eccentric, so I have a West Coast dentist. I go from the East Coast to the West Coast. And sometimes you see me doing funny things with my mouth because I now have Invisaligns in my 70s. I'm getting my bite straightened around. So I flew to the West Coast for a dentist appointment, and I'm in Mission Viejo in the hotel. And I wake up and I did the activation, whichever activation it was, probably 11 o'clock at night or 10:30, so I can just be in bed, and then after it just drift off to sleep, because after the activations I would have beautiful sleep with really exciting, vivid dreams. So I came to look forward to that. And I woke up at about 3 in the morning and I felt like I had some terrible flu or COVID or something. And I thought, oh no, I flew across the country. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. I'll have to cancel. I can't, if I have COVID or something, or no matter what I have, I don't want to bring it into their office. So I thought, I'll have to get up in the morning and just call when they open at 9. I'll have to give a call and cancel. So I think I had my phone alarm set and I got up at like 6:30. I finally did get to sleep. And whatever that flu was or whatever it was gone. So it wasn't like a regular disease. It was something moving through me that just passed very quickly. And I had the appointment and it was beautiful. Um, and again, it feels good. I mean, nobody wants to have those symptoms, but when you have that underlying feeling that something good is happening, something is purifying in your system, like after if you've exercised really hard and you get some aches and pains and stuff, you realize from those aches and pains that you've done something. Your body is gearing up and it's healing itself and making you better than ever. So it's quite a wonderful thing.
I mean, another way of thinking about it, and people can Google this, is that it's ascension symptoms. Because remember, we said that during the age of Aquarius, 26,000 years in the making, we are ascending during this period. And it's also been documented that there are ascension symptoms. And they are very much like our activation systems. When you think about it, they're the same thing. We're being activated, which is the symptoms of being activated is the same thing as the symptoms of being ascending to higher density. Because ascending is basically we're transitioning our body to a higher density, meaning crystalline body, so that we're having these little changes happen in our body. And sometimes they feel nice, comfortable. Sometimes they feel, they hurt, but they're all ascension symptoms that we need to lean into and say, goody, we're evolving, we're getting our goal of becoming a higher consciousness and more loving being.
Yeah, I know I remember I had like a power surge, like whooshes of energy on one. And it was, each time it's a little different. And, but I get, when I'm doing activations, a lot of times I get lots of visuals. And, it can be like this last one, I'm on level 4 right now. And I saw my mom, it looked like these, it was a lot of blue energy. I would say it was Lyrians and some other type of alien. And I mean, I'm getting all these visuals as I'm doing them. It's, it seems like faces that morph into other faces, and it's lots of different things.
Because you're in that transition wavelength where your galactic family can talk to you. So whatever you see, that's your galactic lineage.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I actually had this conversation with Gary about Earth-bound people and galactic people, and I would say everything is galactic. even the people on Earth, they all come from galactic sources, and if you really want to break it down, the definition of extraterrestrial means that it's not on this Earth. Well, that means everything is not of this Earth, because even the Earth is not of this Earth. The Earth came from another part of the galaxy.
Yeah.
So everything is galactic, and we all have a galactic lineage that, so when you're doing the activation, Temi, and you're getting different lineages, it's because you're not just one galactic race. You're a mix. We're all mixes from different parts of the galaxies and different universes.
I mean, those are some of the visuals I'm getting during activations in person, and the audios. So one of the things that I saw was the 12-strand DNA when I was doing Chris's activation, but it looked like a wheel of the sun, and it was all 12 strands, but each strand is another, we're a mixed race, and that's why it's so funny to me. People are like, well, I come from a family that is very mixed. And that was one of the things that Christy said to me. It's just like, Tami, there's a reason for that. Like, you love all these cultures, it's because we're all a mixed race. And I understand we're hybrids. Once you go to the pyramids and look at the creation, the wall of creation, it's like, oh, I'm not just of this world. We're from the universe. And that is an acceptance level that you can get to, once you open your belief systems.
So what I want to explain to the viewers is that the human DNA, we're brought up to think that it's a double-strand helix, but it's not actually. There are actually 12 strands of it, and that the other 10 strands are dormant. They were once active, but then the very last genetic modification that we had, they were made to be dormant. So now during this ascension process, we really are just waking up to DNA that we've already always had. And during this time period, we've only thought we had 2 strands, but we actually have 12. So we're waking up the other strands and waking up that dormant piece of our DNA. And when that happens, we're going to have a symptom system, and then we're also going to be having these abilities that we're having right now. We're calling them the side effect. Some people are now being able to channel different galactic languages. Some are doing them in codes, but there are other other possibilities that we're going to get. Telepathy. We're going to start being able to communicate, to each other through telepathy. We're going to be able to travel out of our bodies, because we're going to be able to project our mind and actually be at another place and travel outside our body. So there are a whole bunch of possibilities that are opening up when we use the DNA that's been sleeping. So that's the whole process of ascension, is that we're waking up our DNA, and we're waking up our potential to do these miraculous things that really aren't miraculous. They're things that we can do based off of our DNA, but we didn't know we had the DNA to do that. So now that we know that we're going to develop that skill, and they're magical.
It's fun. It's magical. It's it is unique. Like, you have a soul blueprint, and I came to be a loving mother and be in a loving family, and to play in the spiritual community, to activate my light language. But I do it with a sense of play. And when my light language was activated, I had already spoken it, but I was confused about it. So I got an activation with a girl who's kind of an expert in it, and she said, "Oh, you're just an intergalactic channel, and you just, it's just the next step." And I was writing light language for years before I started speaking it. I just had a little resistance to being so weird, and it is. I mean, I've always kind of been woo-woo and open, but people don't always get it. Like, your friends may not get it, but you just have to keep leaning into it and being open to the things, because you will be changing, and life just changes. That's just the natural thing. So play with it like a game. Like I played with oracle cards, I played with crystal balls and energy work and angels, and first time an angel showed up, I was a little bit stunned, but and that's usually what I do. Initially, it's like a shock, and then I'm like, oh, and then suddenly I lean into more acceptance of it. And I've seen crystalline grids, I've seen them with my eyes, and now so we'll move toward that direction. So a little bit more about the crystalline body. You're still in this body. You still live of this world, and grounding is part of the step of that. So go ahead and talk a little bit.
In the third density, which is, most of humans are, we're in the carbon body, solid carbon-based body. As we're raising our consciousness to the fourth density, then we transition into a crystalline body, meaning that it's lighter and it has crystalline energy in it. Now, you and I and humanity, we're on that cusp of being in the third density, transitioning into the fourth right now. So that's why some of us who are on the leading edge, we're actually starting to go into our crystalline body now. We're none of us are totally in it. Otherwise, we'll be completely in the fourth density, which we're just the leaders who are edging our way up there. The vast majority of the humans on Earth are in the third density. Some of them are in the low third density. The ones that hate and war, they're in the low third density. But all of our friends and us were in the high third density, transitioning to the fourth. And then when we do that, we're transitioning into the crystalline body. Now, in the future, and I'm talking about thousands of years, not next year. In the future, humanity is going to transition from the fourth density to the fifth density. And at that point, we're going to transition again. Our bodies becomes from the light, crystalline light body, to a complete light body in that phase. So that's the phase of the fifth density. You have a complete light body. In the fourth density, we have a crystalline body. So that's, it's crystalline. It's solid, but it's crystalline. It's lighter. But that's, again, lighter than the third density, which we're in, which is carbon-based.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I feel it. I'm saying I have moments of complete bliss, utter feeling lighter, like lots more energy flowing through me. But I studied energy. I studied hermetics and Kabbalah and yoga and all this stuff. So I love all this stuff, and I've done some past life work. So, I've seen where I've been like very magical in some lives, and I've been an energy healer in some lives. And I've been, I think I was a monk in one life where I just got the rainbow body, and so in magic, we call it the rainbow body of the Shekinah. So you can activate the energy of the angels around you through ritual and sound and frequency. You can elevate and you move through, they call it through the abyss. So you leave the 3D and leave your body, and you go out into the lightness, the void, the no thing. So you can do that with meditation, and there's lots of ways. So that's like through yogic practices, through transcendental meditation, through Merkaba activations, and I like to try it all. I just came to play in the spiritual realm because I just love it. And I can say, that I've had Kundalini moments in yoga. I'm losing track of how many times I've had those, and very high level activations in like breath work, intense breath work retreats. So just want to let people know there's many ways to do it, and one of my specialties is doing healing sessions on people. I can see where people have energy blocks, and I get visuals and I see the language on them that needs to be expressed. And but once you activate your light language, start using your hands and writing. Like the first light language, I was writing, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I was playing and playing with art a lot, just being very creative. So it's go into it with a sense of play and awe, and often if you'll go back and do things you did when you were young, you'll find some of that. It might be music, it might be dance. When I was in Jamaica, I danced. I did water aerobics. I went snorkeling. And then I was out in the sun a lot, out by the pool and playing. And there was a drum celebration where the Jamaican people drum. So intense sounds, drumming, those kinds of things. I got an activation at a powwow, an Indian powwow. And when they were drumming and singing that song, I just vibrate. I feel like my whole body vibrates after things like that.
So Tami, a lot of people do find that automatic writing is the first step. It's the easiest step to take on when you're first beginning than channeling or other kind of gifts. So I just want to say a lot of people do that first off because it flows easier because you're not using your brain, you're using your hand to write, and it just kind of flows. And I also wanted to make a comment about, you mentioned about how a lot of our peers are feeling better and looking younger. Well, this is a fact that in the fourth density, because this is according to the channel books by Ra, in the fourth density, the beings in the fourth density, they live longer and they actually pick the age that they want to be and they stay that age throughout their life. So if they're a humanoid form in the fourth density, they can pick, I want to look like 25, and they will look that way for the rest of their life. Even if the rest of their life is like 800 years, they will look back. They get to pick, because in the fourth density, you have a crystalline body, so you can do that, and you have the consciousness that can do that. So it's just a little side of, benefit of being in the fourth density is that you can pick what you want to look like, and you'll look like that for the rest of your life. Yeah. So what I think is happening to us, a lot of us who are on a third density transition, we're just like tapping that, right? We're touching that element. So we're being able to play around with our physical bodies and do things like maybe look a little younger, be a little healthier, because we're touching, dipping our toes into fourth density. And that's one of the side effects. But yes, trust me, when we get to the fourth density, you all get to pick what age you want to look like, and you stay there for the rest of your life.
That'd be great. I'm not sure what age I would pick, because I really have loved a lot of the ages I was. Like now, it's a good time. Like, even though, I'm a grandmother, I'm like, I can't, I don't really want to be younger. I did like being young, but in some ways I'm, this is perfect. This is perfect what you are. So you have to just kind of accept it and play and do the things you can do and enjoy. And you can do a lot more than you think you can. That's right. I know you work out at the gym, and Daniel, you take a lot of steps. I know you do. You're very active. You're both very active people. And I just left the gym. So it's one of my, it's a treat. I love to go to the gym, and I love to snorkel. I love to swim. So on the days I don't go to the gym, I swim because it's really hot. So like, I don't always walk, but I do things I love to do. And I think staying active is important. It's part of moving through some of the Ascension symptoms. You can really move through them in ease if you physically stay active. So.
Oh, and I want to comment on something you said, Dan, about you were mentioning how, like, since this activation is happening, it's happening like a snowball that builds up and gets bigger and bigger and bigger like that. The way I picture it and the way I hear it from folks is that it's like our life, we're used to a slope like this. But then once you start to ascend and you start getting these activations, your life goes like this. Meaning the changes are dramatic in a short period of time. I mean, we've had our activation under a year, and I can say, like, within this past 9 months, it's just been ridiculously growth. It's just growing really fast. It's not like your normal level of growth where, you know, it takes you a year to go this far. In a year, you're going this far now. So that's the visual I had when you were describing your snowball effect, Dan.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's and as Tami said, it's fun. It's fun. It can be a little disorienting, but that's what adventures are.
Correct. That's what a roller coaster fun ride is, right?
I remember talking with Daniel. I said, Daniel, I feel so like lightheaded, and he said, oh, isn't that wonderful? You know, so it's good to talk to people who are doing along the journey with you, because you might be perceiving it in a way that's not positive, but it's really all good. And I'm still able to focus. I'm still able to do all the things I was doing. It's just I don't feel weighted down by some of the old thoughts and the old ways that I was thinking or feeling. And not that my ego is totally gone, because it is not, and I still have manifestation events, both positive and negative, but I have less and less negative events going on. And in magic, the way they describe it, as you work through magic and you work through letting go of your limiting beliefs, your ego dissolves. You move into oneness. You kind of understand you're everywhere all at once at the same time, but the ego comes back together and reforms, but it's unique, and your separation is dissolved. The feeling of being alone is dissolved. You're back in tune with source. You're back in tune with your higher self, or your love, your bliss, your love.
Can I tell you the one gem wisdom I get from hearing Paul Selig's books? And he describes the ego as this. He says that we human are used to thinking that our ego sits on our throne. It commands our world. It's the king of our world. It sits on our throne. Mm-hmm. And he says life will become better, and what it should be when we realize that, no, we got to take our ego off the throne, put it on the side. It's the side right-hand man of your inner self. Your inner self, who is quiet in the background always, your inner self who has devised your life and knows everything and knows what's going to happen. You need to put your inner self on the throne of your life and realize that your ego loves your inner self and needs to listen to your inner self.
Yeah.
Your ego is the right-hand man who's there to, help exist and protect you and make your life work, but it's there to listen to your inner self, and your inner self is the being that's on the throne. It's not your ego.
Okay. We've come to about an hour, and I know you have another meeting to get to, Darryl. So I will say thank you for meeting and talking all things crystalline, woo-woo,
ego. Don't forget the ego.
And even the ego. And it's time to have a conversation with the ego. It's time to go. Or it's time to allow my inner intuition and my inner self to lead the way in love and joy and bliss. So thank you guys. And
thank you.
Thank you both. Love you guys.
That's a great joy to see both of you. And I always learn so much when I talk to you guys. Wonderful.
Wonderful. All right, bye.
Bye. I love you.
Bye
Love you
now.
too.
Love you too.